Hi, welcome to the video. I'm hoping it's recording. So this is a updated deck list from a previous video. So the previous deck list is my oh god, what was his name? Yuma. So basically the pre-con Yuma that had deserts. I have changed it. I've even changed the commander. It is now Baylen, the haymaker. So this has become, instead of deserts, it's now landfall.deck. And landfall makes a lot of tokens, so I thought to keep the color identity I'll choose baylen because it does a lot with tokens. And I'll tell you now, very good choice. This deck is insane now. Let's get into it. So we'll put baylen over here. We will start with oh god, hang on. Yeah, so we'll start with the Panharmonicon effects of Ancient Green Warden and Panharmonicon. Basically, ETBs double with Panharmonicon. Meanwhile, Ancient Green Warden specifies that I could play lands from my graveyard, and if a land entering would trigger, it would trigger twice. So it's basically Panharmonicon for landfall specifically, which is what Panharmonicon's in the deck for to begin with. So, you know, works out. So we're going to go with the landfall triggers first. We're going to go with the ones that create tokens because of baylen. We have a lovely Scoot Swarm. We have a lovely Rampaging Baloths. Obviously we have a Tireless Trekker and Provisioner. We have a Springheart Nantuko. Don't worry, it's not the same right colours or legality for a lovely little bird with a mask on. We will have a Omnath Locus of Rage. Avenger of Zendikar doesn't create on a landfall, but it makes a lot of tokens anyway, so I thought I'd include it here. And a Felidar Retreat. All of these are the token creator landfalls so far. There are a few others, but they're not in this era. You'll see. Next we'll just go for the generic landfall. Obviously we have the Lotus Cobra, we have the Bristly Bill, we have the new Mossborn Hydra, we have a Moralg, we have a Spitfire Legak. So basically create mana, put a 1/1, if I pay enough mana I can double all 1/1s. Double starts off with a 1/1, each landfall doubles its own 1/1s. Extra combats for each single landfall trigger, and deal 1 damage to everyone for each landfall trigger. So, very good generic landfall there. Next we'll have landfall enablers in the form of extra lands. So we have Azusa and Dryad of the Elysian Grove. 2 extra land drops, 1 extra land drop, and basically Chromatic Lantern. Oracle of Moldiah, extra land drop, and I can play from the top of my library. Overlord of the Hauntwoods is not an extra mana creator in the sense of I can't put down more lands, but when he enters or attacks he creates a land. So like I don't put one down, it just creates, and because a token is counting as entering the battlefield, his lands will trigger landfall, which is insanely fun. Next we have a Shire that turns everything into a landfall. And then we have that's the ways of increasing our landfall triggers. Next we want specific lands, so we're going to go with an expedition map, a Sylvan Scrying, Kodama's Reach, specifically for basics, but you might need to mana fix. Hours of Promise, and that gives us a bunch of additional land search. Next we have a generically just good card for land, which is Wrenn and 6, because we can grab lands from the grave. That will matter, you'll see why. Next we have reasons lands will be engraved with Crop Rotation and Scape Shift that just immediately goes, hey, here's like 30 landfall triggers off of Scape Shift, and hey, just search for a good land. I'll tell you now, there are a lot of good utility lands, so these are powerhouses in the deck. Like, if I can Crop Rotation turn 1 and just get into probably my best land instantly, which is insane. So, it's always something to look out for. Next we just have generic additional land drops in the form of free visits, which is the lovely Monty Python one. I love this one. We want a Shrubbery. Then we have ourselves a little explore to obviously draw and get a card. Then we have attempt with discovery, the Lord of the Rings one, which is also kind of nice. Then we have a harrow. We also have a collective voyage. People forget about this card. It was in the Pride Secret Lair as well, which is nice. It basically says, starting with me, I may pay any mana I want, and then everyone else does the same. In obviously turn order. Then after everyone's paid the mana, we all get that as many basic lands from our deck onto the battlefield tapped, equal to the amount of mana paid. So if I pay 5 mana and then my opponent pays 3 mana, that is 8 lands for everybody. Very good for this deck, because I just go, right, mid game I want a load of landfall triggers, I'm going to play this, pay like 7, I'm going to give myself 7 landfall triggers here. Like, you can add to it if you like, but I'm definitely getting 7. They do enter tap though, so just be wary that if you want to play something after, you will need to keep the land untapped. Then we have ourselves the powerhouse of any landfall deck, which is Life from the Loam. Also, Mending of Dominaria, people forget about because of the last ability is amazing, but also mill to grab a creature, which a lot of landfall triggers that you care about are creatures, so it's just another way to potentially get into your Scoot Swarm, etc. Talking of creatures, Lumra. Lumra is basically the finale of Mending of Dominaria, but better, because it's a creature that does big beat, and it is literally 1 extra mana to do that, which is very stupid. I love it. Then we have ourselves a run in 7 to go by run in 6. Basically, you can uptick it 1 to get yourself a land from top of your deck. Well, all lands from the top of your deck, I think it is. Is it all or 1? All lands. So yeah, every land from the top of here, for the top 4, goes into your hand, and then the rest into the grave. And then you can pay 0 to just place all of the lands in your hand. Which doesn't sound like much in most decks. It's like, oh, okay, maybe like I ramp for free by paying like what, 5 mana. That's not great. Then you go, oh, I'm playing landfall. I'm going to get so many triggers from that. Then you have yourself a nice Reckon rebuild, which can either be a removal for an artifact or an enchantment that you don't care about, that's annoying you, or it could just be a very simple mill, get another land drop, and it has flashback as well, which is kind of nice for that. Then we have last 2 cards in this section, which is Awaken the Woods, which is create that many X Green Dryad tokens, which are forests and tokens, so baylen just wets herself for it. It's so good. I don't have to tell you why it's good. baylen cares about tokens, the entire deck cares about lands. It's the best of both worlds. It is fucking insane. And then we also have an abundance to guarantee we're going to get a land. So yeah, that is a good portion of the deck already. We go through all of this, back down here. So next we go into the, what I like to call generic good stuff. It's basically stuff that you would run in a lot of decks, but this deck has some other reasons for it. So for example, Sun Titan is an additional landfall and a trigger and attack, very nice. We have 6, which is discard a land but get any of your milled cards if you're milling yourself with, say, Life from the Loam, very nice. We have ourselves a Kiri, which will grab ourselves a land from the grave, which is nice. Talking of grabbing lands from grave, we have a Romanop Excavator that allows us to play from the graveyard like Ancient Green Warden did. Then we have ourselves a Skullwinder to grab any cards from the grave, but we have to give that ability to our opponents too. But normally we're playing at a time where it's better for us. Then this deck is full of tokens, one of which being Avenger of Zendikar. So you've got to play the Crater Hoof. You've got to play the Overwhelming Stampede, which is basically a sorcery Crater Hoof. Triumph for the Hordes, but that's just because Infect is cool, guys. I swear. I swear, guys. Don't worry about it. Jetmir, we're making a lot of tokens. It's in the right colours. It doesn't hurt to give our creatures double strike, vigilance, and like all that. So yeah, it's kind of nice. Then we have, because we have so many lands usually, Sakama. Just untap those puppies and just do a bunch more stuff. Also, that bunch of stuff can be any of his abilities too. It's insane. And then we go into the win condition of the deck, which is Goblin Bombardment. Again, we're making a lot of tokens. I feel like I have to specify this. And then we'll go into the basic land stuff, which is Soul Ring and Arcane. And then we go into a Path to Exile for a removal. Now, I have one more non-land. This is the last non-land card in the deck. The rest of this is land. Like, I'm just going to show you. That much land. It's a landfall deck. Come on. This seems counterintuitive with Bristly Bill and with, like, any of those kind of cards. But we're playing a Solemnity. Now, again, why are we playing this, you might ask, with Triumph of the Hordes, with, like, all of those cards? Well, my dear viewer, we're playing it because our first land we're revealing is Glacial Chasm. We just never take damage. Obviously, if you don't get the Solemnity, you do have the Nesting Grounds for that too. But also, do you know what Solemnity helps with? Dark Depths! And yes, this is also the Monty Python one, which is really nice. And also, if we're playing Dark Depths, also we play the land version, which is Thespian Stage. But yeah, you just go, right, Glacial Chasm no longer gets counters. I now have a 20/20 Merit Large instantly by playing a land drop. So Solemnity has a good reason. Yeah. Next we have ourselves a Field of the Dead for land drop, token shenanigans. We have a Vesuva to copy it. Obviously we have the Thespian Stage from earlier to also copy it. We then have Command Tower as a generically good land. We have Yavi Maya as a generically good land. I apologise for this, guys, but we do play the Strip Mine, we do play the Wasteland, and we do play the Ghost Quarter. Now, hear me out. Ghost Quarter is to have an option to take out a utility land while also ramping yourself if you choose. Actually, I'm just going to hit my own land, get a landfall trigger, done. Wasteland is genuinely just, I don't like that utility land. And Strip Mine is, I'll be honest, I've destroyed a lot of lands with this that I probably shouldn't have. But it's mostly in here, as I said, to say, hey, I don't like that utility land of yours, it's going bye-bye. Again, don't forget, this is just lands that you can play for mana, and half the time I do use them just for mana. They are just there as a threat of, don't play a Dark Depths because your Dark Depths will go bye-bye. Don't play a Glacial Chasm, your Glacial Chasm will go bye-bye. This is the one deck where I'm self-aware on how stupid lands can be. So I might as well run some hatred for lands in case someone decides to play one of those lands on me. For example, if you have a Mutavault that you give that enchantment that goes, hey, I can't lose the game, I can go, well, guess what? Yes, you can. Strip Mine. Just gives like an extra answer to the table, which is kind of nice. It's usually used for that. Sometimes I use it to get rid of someone's only colour of that colour because they're about to win and they need that mana. So it happens. Then we have the Jewels in the form of Game Trail and Temple of Abandon for scrying as well. Then we have the Bounce Lands in Celestial Sanctuary and Gruul Turf, which again, depending on how many land drops you have, this is just a constant landfall trigger because you're always getting this land back to your hand. Then we're going into the fetches. We have obviously the good fetches in Arid, Windswept and Wooded Foothills, obviously. But then we are also playing, and arguably one of the better fetch lands in the deck, Cabaret Courtyard. Now it has to search for a basic, but it doesn't have to tap. It just instantly searches. So if you get this off of, say, Escape Shift, where they have to come in tapped, this is just an additional landfall trigger. Like, you get this with your Escape Shift, and then you immediately sack it and get yourself a basic land. Gain a life, get a landfall trigger. One of the actual better fetch lands in the deck. And the funny thing is because it names it, it doesn't show the icon. I might pick up the other ones of these that search for any of the colours that I run, because you might as well. Then for another fetch land, we obviously have Sheltering Landscape. Why not? Then we have the Evolving Wilds, we have the Terramorphic Expanse, and we have a Corrosion Verge. Now, that's great and all, but we need some decent lands to fetch. So these are the named lands you can fetch, like a Dryad Arbor, or the cycle lands in Scattered Groves or Sheltered Thicket, or the ones that are just tapped because they want to be tapped, like Sacred Peaks, Wooded Ridgeline, or Radiant Growth. Or, in my opinion, the best one to search that I usually search 9 times out of 10, which is Jetmir's Garden. You know, just your tri-land. And then, for the finale of the lands, we obviously have to go into the basics, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forest. Then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plains. And then finale, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 plains, mountains, sorry. And that's it. That is the land base. This is my land deck. It is, yeah, it needed a completely revamped video because this entire deck is completely different to how it used to run. Because it used to be like, oh, I want to get deserts and get an infinite combo of greater good if I can help it. Now it's, I'm just going to go infinite on like 5 or 6 cards that are quite easy to access because of the amount of land search I'm doing. Like, I have like 6 ways to get into Field of the Dead outside of just drawing it. It's stupid. This deck is fun. I love it. I don't always win, which is, you know, not the objective of Magic anyway, but oh damn do I have fun with this deck. And when people see Baylen, they expect like this, like either heir apparent or just something that is constantly spitting out tokens that are well known. And it's like, no. You forget, Landfall is like one of the best token generations in all of Magic. It is so good at generating tokens. And it's just like, oh, well, like the amount of times I've gone, right, I have a Scoot Swarm on like 4. I'm going to cast Baylen, use the Scoot Swarms to start drawing cards. Oh, that's an additional land drop. Okay, now I have 8 Scoot Swarms. Oh, I could draw some more cards. Oh, I have enough to cast this Crop Rotation. I'm going to Crop Rotation now. Oh, Crop Rotation for Cabaret Courtyard. That gets me another 2 land drops. That's another 2 Scoot Swarm triggers. I went from 8 to 16 to 32. Now I just start tapping a bunch of Scoots, drawing a bunch more cards. Oh, I got my free visits. I'm going to get myself another land. Oh, that's even more Scoots. I'm going to draw more cards. Until the point where you have like 500 Scoots, you draw the entirety of your deck, and then you pay 4 Scoots to play a Goblin Bombardment, and you just kill everybody on the table. Like, it happens quite often. Because it's not just that, it's the Field of the Dead, because every time you're playing lands, you're also potentially getting the Field of the Dead trigger if you've got Field of the Dead out. And it just slowly morphs into this insanity. And because you have Life from the Loam and stuff like Six and Romanop and Ancient Green Warden, even if you do stuff like Dark Decks to combo and go, right, I'm going to Dark Decks, make a Marit Large. This turn, unless you exile my graveyard, I'm just going to return both lands to my hand, or play them both off of this effect, and I'm just going to do it again when you destroy my Marit Lodge. Or I could either, if I feel like it, tap my Marit Lodge off of Baylen, then make a new untapped Marit Lodge, and tap that one from Baylen too. Like, it's stupid. But anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. Ta-ta.